What's up, y'all? It's your boy Zach. Um, First of all, Potato Boy graphic novel available for free on the r/ Potato Boy manga. That's Reddit r/ Potato Boy manga. You can read Potato Boy's origin story for free, and we'll be selling a version of that just as soon as we can afford to buy the copyrights to all of Western civilization. um, so I had a Dorito back in 1985, and so I have coughing fits for this day. And what's with Doritos? Maybe am I allergic to triangles? Oh, sorry. So you may notice that there's raining in the background. I'm recording this in my car, even though I am, independently employed. Even though I do make my money off of comics, and I do set my own schedule, and I do make my own schedule for uploading videos. There's no I don't post like every Tuesday at 3 p.m. I just make a video whenever I want. I cannot, I repeat, I cannot be bothered to record, in my room with a microphone because, this is, I have to do this when I feel it, my cockles, when it's calling me. That's when it's time to record, and I cannot be bothered to write down my thoughts or organize my thoughts. I am simply going to record in the moment I feel it, even if there is a jackhammer and rain in the background. And you, as the listeners, this is part of the lore. This is part of the Zaggg lore to keep track of how healthy I was in various climates, and to mark that. Maybe put it in like a PDF file, send it to me, and we're gonna graph that. We're gonna graph my health over the years. We're gonna see the factors. Is it the Doritos? Is it the climate? I don't know. Anyway, I know we're now 7 minutes into the topic in the title of the video, but now that we've gotten my health and my location out of the way, you'd think I could edit this out of the video. You'd think that I would be able to do that, but I actually cannot be bothered, even though I am matching screen shares to audio files, so I obviously have some level of technical literacy. Even though I am capable of it's important, like as I said, it's part of the lore, part of the Zaggg lore, to know why I'm coughing and exactly where I'm streaming from. All right, now let's get into the topic. So the topic is bisexual Wolverine. All right, not to spoil the topic, okay? So, I was in my garden. I was gardening. I'm a Marine, and I am a badass Rambo dude, but I garden. When I'm not shooting people in the head, guerrilla style, with a bandana tied around my head. I do like to go out to the briar patch and try my thumb out. Try my little green thumb. These are vegetables that have not been mutated, as far as I know. I don't believe that the seeds are GMO. I haven't read the packaging yet. I should read the packaging. I should. Sometimes as I'm eating cereal, I'll read the packaging of the cereal. I should read the packaging on my seeds, but I like to think that I'm making non-NWO tomatoes. So I'm in the briar patch, and I'm thinking about Perch. I'm thinking about him. I'm thinking, is he a cute guy? What does he even look like? What would happen if we had lunch together? What kind of conversation would we have? What if maybe I had some jelly on the corner of my lip? What if maybe he wiped it off, but he came in a little too close? I gave him a little smooch, little smoochy smooch. And I'm thinking, like, what would it feel like to kiss him, to kiss Perch? Would he be into that? What would it mean? Like, what would it mean for me? What would it mean for him? He obviously has a family. He has daughters that react to stuff. So I don't want to destroy his family, but would it be okay if I just gave him, like just a little light smooch, just to say, like, hey, I love you. Like I love you. Anyway, so I'm in the briar patch, and I'm thinking about some Perch, and Perch, he's talking about like characters always change. There's a natural evolution to characters throughout literature, And why is it that the changes they're making now are such a turnoff to consumers? Like why are they so against the changes that have been made when changes have always been made, comics have always been liberal, and products have always been corporate? Like Batman and Superman sell Twinkies. They sell sugar to kids. You know what I'm saying? Like the people like comic books had so much integrity. No, they didn't. Comics in the '90s had bitches in lingerie. They are fucking. They look delicious. You know, Rob Liefeld and them. They were basically drawing women, out of a Victoria's Secret. You're 12, and you're like, I don't know why I'm excited. You know what I'm saying? And now things have changed, but why are we so affected by the change? And I was thinking, like, where have changes been named? They're like that I caught. Like when could a change happen? Or I went like, oh man, that was a change. And has there been a change that was like, have the SJWs changed the character, but in a way where I'm like, no, that absolutely is still the character. So like, an example of like what a character changed, and I got it wrong. Like sometimes we call it wrong. A lot of people were mad about Rogue's butt in X-Men '97. They tried to literally like get the show canceled before it came out. Rogue's butt was only juicy. She only had a juicy booty in that one team. The rest of X-Men in the real 1990s, and I remember this. I've had Doritos in the '80s. I remember the original X-Men. And Rogue's booty wasn't super juicy. Most of the time it was flat. It was just that one scene. And people were all of like, remember what they took from us. And then you watch the show, and this show was amazing. And episode three, you've hit it. Jean Grey, dark Jean Grey coming out and straight up, Victoria's Secret lingerie, titties, ass, just shaking it around. And you're like Disney sat on it. Disney sat there and took the hit of people shitting on them, knowing they had that level of titties and ass. We're like, if we go ahead and say we ain't got no TNA images, because I promise you, come episode 3, you're gonna be jerking off to cartoons on Disney, on Walt Disney. You're gonna be jerking off. People like, I can't jerk off to it anymore. And then the story was fire on top of that. Anyway, a time I got it wrong. Because, some people have to eat crow and admit they're wrong about this. A time I ate crow is back when Christopher Nolan was making the Batman movies, they announced The Dark Knight. Now, I had kind of checked out on Batman movies at that time. Like, Batman Forever was just like kiddie trash. It was corporate Batman. It was Batman who has so much integrity that he's out of a lunchbox. Batman. Mr. Integrity. Bruce Wayne. The movies were shit. And then I was an adult, and, I was into, like, girls. And so I stopped fucking with Batman. But then they started leaking images for the Joker in The Dark Knight. Now, other than Stan Lee's Hush, I pretty much Stan Lee. And other than Jim Lee's Hush, I pretty much, him and Jeff Loeb were like holding it down in DC. But I pretty much checked out. And then there's these photos drop of early leaks of what the Joker is gonna look like. Heath Ledger's Joker, and I see these pictures, and I was immediately turned off. I was like, this is gonna be trash. It's gonna be fucking trash. He looks like a homeless guy. It's, Jack Nicholson to die in a suit. He's a mafioso. He's skinny, and we see this guy who's, he looks like a homeless person. I was like, this is fuck this. I'm against it. And cancel Christopher Nolan. That's what I was thinking in my head. And then the movie came out, and I watched it, and it was so good that it was better than anything we had ever said about the Joker before. Even though it was based off of, Alan Moore and this, that, and the other thing, it was like, it transformed the way we were like, oh no, that's what the Joker actually is. So it's like, on some level, like, people are not opposed to change. You just gotta stick the landing. You know what I'm saying? Or it's like, Heath Ledger became what the Joker's lore. We don't care if you just threw all the lore in the trash. That was so dope. That's what the lore is now. So I was trying to think, like, is there an SJW example of that? Where they changed the character, but we rocked with it. And the only one that came to mind is this obscure show. I almost don't even want to talk about it because I don't want them to become popular because they will get canceled. It's like I don't want them to. I want this to be my secret little thing, but I'd have to talk about this because it reminds me of something that perched it. So there's this obscure channel called Little Fat BX or Philip Wave. It's complicated. All right, this show has been around for like 17 seasons, like 600 episodes, but it keeps reinventing itself as different series. And the current series is The Late Nut with Little Fat BX. All right, so I see there's an episode with Wolverine, and the cover looks like South Park, and I'm like, I got time. I'm waiting for my Wendy's to get done. I got time. So I start watching this show. Now this is season 1, episode 2, or if you're looking at the seasons, it's season 2. After the first episode. It's complicated, but like, it's worth your time. Like, you should go watch the seasons of this show. The first 4 seasons are clipped up, and you should go watch what I'm referring to as part of season 2. Now it's like the show, I can't even explain. Like, I would literally have to start another channel to explaining what this show is. But like, the short version is it's like there's a troll in real life, but made a cartoon about his trolling. But then his cartoon was the troll, and so people would get mad at real life, but the cartoon would react to it, and then he would be like, "You guys are mad at a cartoon squirrel," and like it worked. It's insane. It's the most avant-garde. Say like, there's no reason. It's hard to even get your head around. But if you sit down and if you just like, you're going to be immediately turned up, like I was with the Joker. But if you just sit down and you watch, it's amazing. You have to watch the first 4 seasons of The Late Nut with Little Fat BX. So season 1, they never going by the individual episodes. Episode 2 stars this character, bisexual Wolverine. Now, bisexual Wolverine, he was made bisexual dirt before the Krakoa era. This is when the executive of Disney owned the rights to Marvel comics, but not Marvel movies. So he tried to destroy the X-Men. He literally kills off all of the mutants. He tried to permanently kill Wolverine, and they also did everything they could for character assassination. And one of those things, sneaky, is this progress or is this character assassination? Is this lowering the value of an IP? Was they made Wolverine a bisexual? I think they said he's in a 3-way relationship with Jean Grey and Cyclops. He goes down on Cyclops. He's sucking him at dick. He's putting it in his butt. And, anybody that's a long time fan, like, Wolverine is more iconic, literally, than the X-Men. Which is weird because he's originally a DC character and they sold him to Marvel, but he's the Batman of Marvel. Like, Wolverine is like the number 1 character in fucking Marvel, but he hasn't been in the movies, not part of the bigger MCU because they were waiting for those rights to lapse so they could purchase them, and they tried to erase X-Men and mutants from comic books intentionally from the corporate level, because they didn't own the IP to the movies. This was purely a greedy business move. So anyway, they make Wolverine bisexual, and I find what is Wolverine? Well, he's crazy. He's a lunatic. So in this episode, it opens up with Little Fat BX, who's a cartoon squirrel. He's a mumble rapper, and he's a Canadian in a late night talk show. It's a whole thing. He's David Letterman. All right, so you have Fappy, he's David Letterman, and you have his assistant, Bella and the Snake, Sanji. And I don't want to get into it. You just get into it. But Bella and the Snake. So Fappy is saying to Bella, he's like, "Who's the guest tonight?" And Belen is like, "Oh, it's bisexual Wolverine. He's a huge guy. He's the face of Marvel. You know what I'm saying?" But Fappy is immediately mad. One of the things this established, like if you're a writer, if you're paying attention, it establishes that there's a pre-existing history between Fappy and Wolverine, and Fappy is furious. Like, how could you book him? He's unreliable. He won't be here. You basically just told me we have no guest tonight. And Belen is taken aback. He's like, Fappy, he called me like 19 times. Like booking him was all I could do to get him off the show, which is like, if you've ever known an alcoholic, you've had some conversation in your life where they call you and it's, 3 hours of how much they love you and making plans to get together, and then they just don't show up. And you have, it's got like Dante Nero, this relationship guru, he used to say, it's like owning a rattlesnake. It's like you can have a rattlesnake as a pet, but you have to understand that it's a rattlesnake. If we go in there without your safety gloves and it bites you, that's all on you. The whole thing is, and Fabi is basically saying, Wolverine is Wolverine. Then I would say, like, he's nuts. He's a fucking psycho. He will not be here. He will not remember that he made plans to be with us, and we have to just eat that. So he's furious, and he decides to call bisexual Wolverine. So he calls him bisexual Wolverine. He's driving around on a motorbike singing the X-Men theme. But it's about how bisexual he is. Bisexual Wolverine, bisexual Wolverine, bisexual Wolverine, not gay, sucking and fucking and sucking and fucking all day. Bisexual Wolverine. It's so catchy. I was singing it the other day when I was in the garden, and I was like, you ever find something so catchy you catch yourself singing it? You're like, God, I hope people didn't hear me singing it. It's like the mailman came by and I'm like sucking and fucking and sucking and fucking all day. Long story short, so I'm blowing the mailman and I'm thinking about something that Perch said, and I was like, I need to tend to my rutabagas. Rutabaga. Anyway, that was a joke. It was a joke. These are jokes. Cartoons matter. So, Fappy calls bisexual Wolverine, and he's like, bisexual Wolverine, do you remember that you're booked to be on my show tonight? Like, so again, this is familiarity between Fappy and bisexual Wolverine. He's like, Fappy knows who he is. And he can speak to Wolverine blatantly about who he is, and Wolverine doesn't get mad. He's not like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? And bisexual Wolverine's like, oh, well, I happen to be in Denver. I'm gonna explain the whole episode, or at least the Wolverine parts. And Wolverine is like, I'm in Denver. Some poor trans kid, their parents looked at him funny, so I'm gonna kill their mom and dad and then take them back to Xavier's school for the mutants. Which is hilarious because it's like Wolverine, he's like the guy at the protest that doesn't know what the protest is about, but he's there. And he's hard-bodied, and he is down for the cause. But he doesn't necessarily get the politics of what's happening. He knows he's dumb, but he wants to do the right thing. And Fabi explains to him that trans people aren't mutants, which is funny, especially with all the allegories of, like, now mutant rights have gone from, being about racial issues to being about sexual issues to being about gender issues, which is part of the story elevating with the times or evolving. And this is an example. Bisexual Wolverine is bisexual, and he's like, Fappy, I forgot. He's like, but I'm in Denver. I can be there. The show starts and I'm coming. I will be there. I promise you. Now, Fappy, in the cartoon, he's holding the phone to the side, and he covers the mic, and he starts screaming at his critic. He goes, I fucking told you. Have you ever had, like, you and a friend are friends with the bad friend, and the bad friend is doing what the bad friend always does, and you're looking at your friend like, did you think something else was going to happen? This is what it always is. Anyway, he tells his assistant, you know what, get out there. There's a lot of celebrities walking around. We do a late night talk show. First celebrity you see, you book them as the guest. So then it cuts to the villains of the story, which is Brennan Schaub, who's some real life UFC fighter, and his gang of goons, which is a bunch of internet people that are like, they're real people, but you don't really like. The thing about this show is it's like it's an inside joke, but it's like as you watch it, it introduces these people, but it introduces you to them later, and then you end up having to rewind. I've watched this show 6 times, and every time I see something different. The show should just be called What the Fuck, because that's my experience with the show is just going, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the fuck, what the like every time you think they can't out what the fuck themselves, they go further into the, like, I don't know what drugs they're on. Like, maybe I'm a square. Like, at my age, like, my favorite drug is ibuprofen. It was like, maybe I don't have the constitution to do the drugs you need to see this shit coming, but the show just constantly catches you off guard, and then you rewatch it and you realize it was telling you what was happening the entire time, but you just didn't see it because you didn't know. But now that you know, it still doesn't, like, it's fucking nut. You have to watch The Late Nut with Little Fat VX. So anyway, Bisexual Wolverine is on his way to the studio, and Brendan Schaub has set up this plot where they're going to set up bombs underneath Fappy's studio. It's insane. He goes, we're going to the Shredder's Technodrome, and we're going to steal a drill machine. This is just pure absurdity, pure we live in a cartoon world. And so Brendan Schaub sets up these bombs, and he leaves behind his goon, BGL, who's a real guy. His BGL stands for Big Gay Lion. This is a real person who sent real death threats to these people. And then Brendan goes to the show. Now, in the story, you know, Brendan Schaub's wife and kids hang out with Fappy. Fappy's dating Brendan Schaub's ex-wife, who's a real person. It's all, you just have to watch it. You just, the shit that they do. There's a character called Dog. I can't even say his name, but you'll know it when I'm the dog. You'll know it when you see it. Okay, this shit is nuts. Fucking Ryan Long is in there. Anyway, and the show gets better. Like you just have to hang in there. It does, but it pays off. It's a ride. It's a 4-hour ride, and you just have to go. You just have to let the ride click up. All right, don't go. This is X-Men '97 where they're having the final scene in the first scene to try and hold your, TikTok attention. You just have to. It's not a story. It's an experience. You have to go experience Little Fat VX. So Wolverine he's in traffic and he's running late. And he's like, bisexual Wolverine, it's being late. And there's a car next to him, and the whole family is like, has their faces pressed against the window, staring at bisexual Wolverine. And he's like, fuck it, I'll take I'll take the sewers. The 90s, all the characters were in the sewers because of the fucking Ninja Turtles. So he goes in the sewers, but then he runs into BGL and the explosives under Fappy's studio, and you think that they're just going to have like a Wolverine Sabretooth fight to the death. But BGL is a big gay lion, and bisexual Wolverine is a bisexual Wolverine. And BGL is like, I'm just down here waiting to rape a guy. and Wolverine is like, waiting to rape a guy like me? And then they start making out. Now we pan up to Little Fat VX. The show has started. Bisexual Wolverine obviously hasn't shown up because he's Wolverine, but he's a bisexual Wolverine, so he's just fucking some meathead in the sewers. And the celebrity they find is Brendan Schaub, who's there to protect his wife and kids. And so Brendan Schaub comes on the show, the bombs explode, and then he falls into the ground. And the plot was, if the explosives don't kill Fappy, BGL was waiting to rape him to death. Well, Brendan Schaub now gets raped by bisexual Wolverine and BGL, which is continuity that immediately picks up in the next. Anyway, it's just, this is literally my favorite Wolverine. I really hope there's a bisexual Wolverine reaction to the new Wolverine and Deadpool movie. He had the whole continuity that continues through the next 2 or 3 seasons. There's a whole subplot with BGL, who's a real person who gets into a real SA domestic assault situation I don't know how this man takes true chaos, true genuine chaos, and somehow forges it into a narrative plot that somehow makes sense. Anyway, I can't recommend enough. I think you guys should check out The Late Nut with Little Fat BX. Go watch the first 4 seasons. I hear season 7 is around the corner. Potato Boy graphic novel available for free to read on Reddit. Potato Boy manga. It's part of a larger continuity. Potato Boy just had his first child. You gotta watch. You just gotta watch to get it. It's a what the fuck, but when you get it, you get it. Anyway, I'm your boy Zach. Rock and roll ninjas. Shout out to Perch. He's very kissable, and I'd like to give him a smooch.